Now, let's talk about the idea of community and how it impacts health. And right now, we're joined by Yvonne Ziomecki-Fisher. Yvonne is the Chief Customer Brand and Advice Officer at Home Equity Bank. That's a CARP recommended partner whose mission it is to help customers find and fund their purpose in retirement. And welcome, Yvonne. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. So, I've been hearing about this term, the triangle of happiness, and I'm hoping you can tell me more about that. What does it mean?
Absolutely. So, triangle of happiness is this concept from a university in Australia, and basically identifies three things that we need in life to be happy. One is financial stability, so having enough money to do what we want to do. The second one is relationships, so having meaningful connections, meaningful relationships. Rudy just talked about that. And the third one is a sense of purpose. So when you wake up in the morning, do you actually have a sense of purpose? Do you know how you're spending your time? Do you feel like your time is spent in most valuable ways?
So funds, community, and purpose.
Purpose, exactly.
Oh, wonderful. We're going to dig into that because community can be defined in different ways. Ultimately, when in retirement, it's usually about where you live. You left the workplace and that community. So what are your insights on why it's so important for your customers to really build and maintain those strong new community ties, really?
So we did a study with Canadians 45 plus in the fall of last year. We got a lot of interesting information. Community is definitely one of the more important things people talked about. So, when you leave your workplace or when you leave kind of the regular routine, having a sense of community is really important. So it could be your neighbors, your friends, your local store, just having those routines, because work usually forces routines on us, and then you go home and you wake up on your first day and you have to figure out new routines. So having friends you can grab a coffee with, having someone you can go and play pickleball with or go and see a movie is really important. Isolation can happen. People find that work was their entire identity. So once the work is gone, they don't know who they are. And if they have a really good circle of friends or that community around them, they will reinforce, Yvonne, you're not just about the job. You're the person, who likes to have fun. You're a person who likes to spend time with your kids. So that is really important. And also, for us, women at our age, we're probably going to live till our 80s if,
In a house together, as
can I move in, actually? I went in on that list. So it's also important to kind of plan ahead, like who is that community that you're going to move with, the physical fitness, being engaged. And what we found through the survey is as people get older, their sense of community actually increases because they're making very thoughtful, very deliberate decisions on who they are spending their time with.
Yeah, when you talked about going for a coffee, I think coffee shops are so great just for the purpose of it's a place you can go and meet, and it's easy, and there's one on every corner. And when you walk by, they're always full of people just huddled together, chatting.
We have a family friend who lives in North Bay, and he's in his late 70s, and he has a group of 10 gentlemen. And every morning at Tim Hortons, they're having their coffee, and that is their routine. That's the community that they've built for each other.
Okay, let's talk about the Boomer and Zoomer generation. So many have spent a long time in the same home, and they've experienced a lot of the milestones. You've had your children in the home, and celebrated different events. What do you think the benefits are to that?
So I think about my parents. My parents live in Poland, and they have a modest townhome. They've lived there for a very long time. And there's a couple of things. So like you said, there's memories of all the different events that we had and family coming together that are really precious. And they come with stuff. They come with photo albums. They come with, birthday gifts, anniversary gifts.
Mementos.
Exactly. So it's hard to, if they were to move, where does that stuff go? And does that mean you're purging your past? So that's something really difficult to think about. Being familiar with the house that you live in, Rudy talked about that before, that one extra step when you move into a new house or the wall that you didn't remember was there, that can cause to trips, falls, minor accidents that can then become a lot more serious. And then back to the community, right? My parents, they have their routine. They know where the bus stop is and what time the bus comes to take them downtown. They go to the grocery store. The pharmacist knows them, even if they forget the documents to show. So it actually takes a lot of stress and pressure being in an environment that you're comfortable with. And as we age, there's just too much happening and too many decisions to be made. So things that can kind of stay the same and take the pressure off are important. 9 in 10 aging Canadians want to stay in the home that they're currently living in because of that, and also, in home care is a lot easier than being in a hospital and long-term home.
And I know the idea of downsizing can be overwhelming and almost paralyzing for someone who has to think about, what do I do with my stuff?
Absolutely. So, downsizing, I feel like there are two parts to downsizing. One is the financial one. People often think, if I sell this house and I buy a smaller house, I'm going to free up money for retirement or to travel, supplement my income. But the reality is, once you pay the realtor, once you move outside the area that you're comfortable because you're downsizing, once you start selling your stuff and you have to pay somebody to help you through that, you're not winning a lottery by downsizing unless you drastically change your lifestyle. And that may have an impact on the emotional side. So that's the other side, is getting rid of memories. I have boxes of cards that my girls have written for me, and they're preciously stored. Like, if I had to downsize at some point, how do you make decisions? Which pictures are you keeping, or handwritten notes? So I think it can work for some people and makes sense in some circumstances, but you probably need a longer time. You should talk to your family, your friends, and you should really think through it. It's hard to reverse the decision.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Can't get your house back.
Nope.
If you're sorry. Okay, let's talk about contributing to your community, because that's such an important thing too, and it sort of relates to this third part of the triangle, which is the purpose.
Yes.
And that might be easy for some folks, but what advice do you give to someone who wants to find their purpose?
I think there's a couple of dimensions that we hear about from people we talk to. So one is volunteering. And I think volunteering is the best if you're doing something that you really love. So I love an organization that helps immigrants with clothing and educational programs, training programs. That speaks to me. I'm an immigrant. I like clothes. I like education. It works really, really well. So finding something that resonates with you. A lot of people get into hobbies and get involved in the community. I have an aunt who is a very gifted artist, but her parents insisted that she gets a master's degree in geology, geology art. So in her 50s, she started painting again, and then it just kind of opened her up to new opportunities and new people. I have someone at work yesterday who resigned. He's retiring, and I said, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, what are you going to do? And he said, I've always wanted to travel across Canada with my wife, and I want to do it when I'm healthy and when I can do it, and I want to spend with my grandkids when I can still play with them. So there's different dimension, depends on a person, depends on age, on your health, but there is a lot people can consider and choose from.
You've also talked about funds and money and how that can be an important factor to having a happy life. For some people, the idea of the traveling across the country or making memories for your family, a barrier can be, do I have the funds to do this? How can you fund that, for example?
So, there's different ways, right? Some people have savings. They've been great savers, although interest rates haven't been great, so maybe those savings haven't built up. So that's one way. Another way is people who own a house. Oftentimes it's paid off, and they can access equity in the home. Some people have pensions, so that's a steady source of income. What we know about pensions is with inflation and cost of living increasing, the pensions are not really keeping up with the costs that people have to bear. So, when we talk to people about financing needs in retirement, we talk about lines of credit. So if you own a home, you can get a line of credit. You do have to show that you have some income and you can make payments on the line of credit. Or we talk to them about CHIP, Canadian Home Income Plan, where you can get money from the house and you don't have to pay interest until you sell the house or you move out of the house. So interest accumulates, but it gets to be paid later. And we're finding people are a lot more open now to talk about finances than maybe when I joined the company 10 years ago. It was a little bit of a taboo to talk about money. Now people are more curious and they want to look into things and find solutions that are best for them.
And it sounds like from what you've just described, there are a variety, there's a menu of solutions,
Yes.
and you probably personalize it on a case-by-case basis. Let's talk about the reverse mortgage. How does someone know that they're a good candidate for that?
Well, the easiest way to figure out how much money you could get, which is the number one question we get from people, is you come to our website, chip.ca. It has a lot of information. We find people are not quick to make financial decisions in retirement. They really want to be educated, so there's a lot of information on the website. But there's also calculators, so you can find out based on your age, the value of your house, how much you could qualify for. People also worry about, what happens? Does the bank take over the house, or what happens if I stay in the house for a long time? So there's calculators to figure out, if you stay in the house 20, 30 years at this interest rate, how much money are you still going to have at the end of the term? People find that very, very helpful. There's different ways people use the money. People use it to pay off a conventional mortgage because mortgage payments have been going up with higher interest rates, so that's hard to keep up with on top of inflation. People use it as a pension, so they may qualify for $500,000, but they only take $2,000 a month, and that's enough for Tim Hortons coffees, wings on Fridays, little in-province trip. And then people are using it in a different way. So because we're living longer, they're using it to help their families. So help kids get into the real estate market or fund at university education in another country. Just a really, really wide range. And I love hearing all the stories and how the landscape is changing.
And I think it's probably worth mentioning that Home Equity Bank is a bank.
Yes.
And that if someone is listening and thinking, yeah, but I deal with my bank over here, you're regulated just like all the major banks.
Yes, and we actually work with a lot of them. So if you don't want to come to us directly, you can go to the bank that you deal with. We have partnership with them. But yes, we're regulated by the same regulator. Any client who goes to get a reverse mortgage actually has to go and get independent legal advice because we want to make sure that they are protected and that we are protected down the road. And I wholeheartedly recommend people at least look into it and see if it's an option for them.
Great. And when it comes to making the decision about should I stay in my home, what are the kinds of things it's wise to think about?
Well, I think it's wise to think about the lifestyle. What sort of lifestyle do I want to keep? How important is the community? How connected am I to the community? The house itself, is it too big? Is the upkeep too much? I have a family friend who lives in a really big house with a gorgeous pool. She's 85, and she's keeping the house because that's the gathering place for the family. So she hosts dinners for 25 plus. In the summer, all the grandkids and great-grandkids are there. So there are financial considerations, their lifestyle, and their emotional considerations for people.
And I guess also if you're going to have to retrofit it in any way, maybe you want to add a powder room to the main floor or a bedroom or whatever to sort of factor in, do I need some money to do that at some point?
Yes, right? And you can ask an occupational therapist. They can come into your house and do an assessment and show you which areas need a little bit of a retrofit.
Great, Yvonne. So where can people find more information on your financial products and things like a reverse mortgage?
So they can go to chip.ca or they can call 1-888-592-2447 and get a copy of the book that I co-wrote on reverse mortgages.
Well, and I just happen to have that book.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, everybody, when you're leaving the studio, our audience is going to get a copy of this as well. So that's fun. I would throw this out there, but I would probably hit someone in the face, so I'm not going to do that. Thank you so much for being with us, Yvonne. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.